Wolfenstein. The Old Blood. Blood. Second game they've done with the word blood in it. Game is pretty good. In a way, it's kind of my favorite because it's so different, and it's the only one like it that I know of that I've played that it's just not as what you'd expect or standard. Or when I first played, I actually didn't like, you even look at the cover, you're like, oh, a Nazi soldier, cool. So basically I didn't, because weirdly I don't think I played this till after the other ones for some reason. And like, I could tell it was different, but it looked older. It has more of an older style. It's just more authentic. It just really, I think, represents Wolfenstein as a whole very well. The occultism, the science, it's very, it was shocking. And since I was so blown away by what I actually ended up finding out what happened later on, I don't know, I just didn't think this game would have been able to surprise me. Because it makes you think, like, you know, is this game more known for its kind of robot mechanic, the stuff that's just kind of obvious. Like, if you've looked up, it's not hard to figure out what the game's really about. And I think it's one thing going in blind and being like, well, you know, I see the cover of the game, I probably just got it anyway. I may or may not have seen a video of it ahead of time. But I think with the other games, what you see is what you... I think it's really cool, but I don't think it's very surprising. I think here it's very, very different. But it's so obvious once you actually realize what's going on, like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right, duh, I get it now. But I think it just depends on the order that you play these in. So, I mean, not even that. There's this game, and then there's the other ones, what they do. And, you know, that you still get BJ, you still get the big guns. It's Wolfenstein, but I think it's Wolfenstein at its prime. Like, sure, it may not be the prettiest game, or the newest or most modern, or it's just really its own recipe, and I think that's kind of cool. There's a game that really spoke about what Wolfenstein is. This is definitely, this is it. And you obviously still get the cool looking soldiers. I love the style of the German neo-Nazi. They just look so damn cool. There's also like a Korean live action movie called Illong, the Wolf Brigade. There's actually an anime themed after these type of soldiers as well, but they're not, it's just the style of the armor. It has nothing to do with like Germany or Wolfenstein or whatever. But it's just cool to see that style even in other stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was from, I've seen that in Wolfenstein. I forgot what the anime was called. Jin Wong? Or, yeah, I totally forgot. But yeah, there's animes that depict super soldier, heavily armored, heavy guns. The helmet, the face mask, the glowing red eyes. It's just, oh, I love it. It's so cool. I think a lot of like special forces look cool, army fashion. I don't know. But here it's like, dude, these guys look like they can really fuck shit up. I just think that's so cool. Like they're here for battle and they look good doing it, and it really makes a statement. The all black. It's just such a good series. This one was so different. I kind of liked how older it was. I think it's kind of like that fine line between like the OG Wolfenstein and then the new stuff, and it kind of blends in this nice mixture of like, you know, this is probably Wolfenstein really at its peak. And for how much I like the game, that just makes me like this one even more. I just find so many more reasons to like this above the other ones. Yes, the other ones have all its benefits, but it also goes to show that newer isn't always better either, and less is more. This game was a lot shorter than I expected, though. Once it was done, I was expecting it to kind of keep going, but once it was over, which actually wasn't very easy to do. The end boss, I left for a long time and had to actually come back. But once I came back, I beat it pretty much right away first try. Yeah, once it was over, it was like, wow, that's it. Like it's really a game that makes you want more. It's not long, but for what you do get, it's just so good. You get the castle. You know, it's just a little bit more traditional, a little bit more old school, medieval. They didn't quite go into the whole, like, you know, refine, more definitive, advanced kind of era of what Wolfenstein can do. You know, there's no power armor, there's no, like... It's not as ridiculous, it's just very authentic. There's a lot of ridiculousness in it, but in a more accepting way that's not too, like, they're trying too hard to go out of the norm and do their own little whatever thing. Yeah, Bethesda, Machine Games, this is a good one. I feel like it's a lot more underrated. I really don't think it's as popular as the other ones, or maybe just didn't get marketed as well. It's just not as like a nice little tight good big package. Not to mention this is the Old Blood. You don't get the new Colossus and the New Order. This is like its own thing. You know, it's not Young Blood, it's good. I have a lot more respect for appreciation for this title out of the other ones for sure. I guess for me it'd go Old Blood. God, between the New Order and New Colossus, it's tough, but I'd go Old Blood, New Order, then New Colossus, and then Young Blood. Out of like the actual good Wolfensteins, I realize there's others out there. There's actually a lot more out there than I thought, which is surprising, but it just goes to show that this game is capable of making sequels and having spin-offs, and it's just so much to work with here that they're able to do that and still have it make sense and come together well. Yeah, I think from seriously the intro, you're already just so hooked and you're like, oh my god, here we go, this is cool, this is big, this is huge. It's good. It's really good. It's just definitely different. They carry just enough over to like still have that formula going, the things that you come to Wolfenstein for. But they put a big spin on it. And I think if you're playing Wolfenstein in the first place, the things you'll find in this game are just so, like, yes! The things you can love and appreciate about most things that Wolfenstein would have to do with at all outside of the game and the franchise, the brand. It's all here, and you're like, finally, yes, this is good. This is the best of what it can do at its greatest. The best quality. You're still getting that AAA quality, high production value. It's a damn good time. Yeah, it might take like a couple days, maybe like one really long sitting. There's replay value. You know, if you're wanting to get collectibles and all that, I guess, you know, go for it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Or if you want to do like different difficulties, go ahead. You can't play the Wolfensteins without playing this one. You just can't. It just wouldn't make sense. I mean, it's available, it's purchasable, it's still a modern game that you can get. You know, it is old gen, and it's, I don't know, this compared to the other ones, you definitely are going to notice a big graphical difference, which is fine. It doesn't always have to be super pretty and like super, if it is, great. If not, it's still, it just plays and feels very good, and still does look good on modern consoles and TVs and monitors and just technology in general. You know, it's cool because you are getting this, you know, older-ish game and kind of interpreting it in a, you know, in a more familiar quality, pixels and all that. Yeah, it just feels good. It's arcadey. It's very, it's just a damn good time. I definitely had the best time in this game versus the others, easily. Cutscenes are good.
Die Papiere bitte.
Augenblick, warten Sie. Aus Frankfurt. Sind Sie Frankfurter?
Ja, ein Hotdog.
Yeah, I mean, it's already, you get so interested in it so quickly. You know, they straight up tell you like, hey, you can tell from where you're going, kind of what the description is of what you're in for, the first big bad guy you meet. It's very, you can tell you're in for a treat, a good time. It just really does make you excited for it and makes you want to play more. And because I think this game didn't hold back. I think the other game is kind of like, you know, hey, we realize that we're, you know, putting this whole spin on what our interpretation of it with the Nazi zombies and the war, and but I don't think they went too left field or out of whatever they call it. I mean, they clearly did. Like, it's pretty obvious to pick up from, but they didn't like go there where they could have gone, and that's what they did here. Was just more gritty, more gruesome, dark, just evil, and just, you know, very hellish, very, really digs into the whole, like, what if you're gonna play a Nazi game, this is about as far as they can basically take it without it being like just, you know, too much. So that's cool to see. It's good to know that there's something like this out there that can do that, and they're not afraid to push the boundary, and pretty daring. Yeah, and it's cool too, because like you're just getting BJ. I mean, he's got some accomplices here and there, but this is really his own journey, you know? He doesn't have all these friends. There's really not a lot of funny moments, which is good here. You know, not as much comedic relief. It's very action-y, but it doesn't go too hard with the action. It's just, you know, it's just you. There's a lot of pressure and anxiety, and it's kind of up to you. And infiltration, maybe stealth if you can pull that off, which in Wolfenstein I found to be very hard to do. It's like every stealth mission I've ever tried in all these games, it's like, oh, maybe I'll get halfway and then oh, the alarm. Oh, alarm. But yeah, all the same guns. Obviously these aren't like as nice looking. They're a little older, antique. Yeah, I don't know. It just, because when you think of World War II and Nazi zombies, I mean, it was some time ago now, a very different time. And I think it's more believable here because the tech that they had and shown off was very much a little bit more like well, yeah, believable, but like possible, a little bit more, maybe makes sense. You know, if all this really could happen. I realized they had a lot of concepts and a lot of experiments back then with everything that they've ever really done. But obviously, like, you know, we're sitting here knowing that there's no way they could have actually pulled it off. Versus today, yeah, there's no way. And even today is pushing it. Like, the kind of tech they were pushing for was way beyond its time. And it just goes to show that it has flaws, like it's not working. A lot of stuff they've done, I think they've like established or tried or, you know, but they never, nothing ever obviously really went like fully like, you know, 100%. But I think here it's like, well, you know, we've definitely done some shit, but we don't, they don't expect you to really take it all too seriously either. So yeah, it's just very genuine and very, a little bit more real. In the most unreal way, if that makes sense. Yeah, the gameplay was also super fun. Action-packed. There was time for stealth. Kind of. Yeah, some different locations. You're not just stuck, you know, in one spot the whole time. Few different locations actually. Different yeah, just a very different interpretation of Wolfenstein, but in like the best way possible. Yeah. I mean, you could tell from the title, Old Blood. You know, they were really trying to push for that kind of very distant past kind of era, period, time period. Versus like, you know, New Colossus, New Order. I don't really know what they were trying to do there exactly, but I mean, whatever they did, it worked, clearly. You know, but it makes you wonder, like, was it part of their plan? You know, how far out do these kind of projects go, and was it always the idea to create the old blood and the new Colossus, the new order, young blood? Even that young has to do with kind of that. Yeah, they took something so old and made it into a way where there's more relevant games, there's old games, there's young games. It's kind of an interesting way to do things, which is always nice to kind of see those things come through. One thing I didn't like about this game was the wrench pipe thing. You know, it's like, what's up with games giving us wrenches and pipes and shit, dude? It's just such a weird... It's so rare that it's like ever like a knife or just, you know... I mean, shit, like a shiv. It's always some weird pipe. I kind of get why they do that. It's like, oh, maybe you're in this like industrial kind of setting, or... It's a more common item to maybe come upon, which is funny because it's like, dude, who's got wrenches just laying around everywhere, man? Make sure things need to be fixed and operated on, and mechanics and... There's like a wrench, dude. The only people who have wrenches are like, that I've ever seen, is car mechanics. That's not exactly a common household item either, dude. Knives are way more common to find than a fucking giant freaking wrench. I don't know. Games do what they do, and I guess I just have to sit by and trust them. It's just a weird pattern to pick up on, though. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of games that do give you knives. I think in here you even have a little knife too, but you don't even think of using it because you have this big old freaking pipe, and you think, oh, a little dagger or a giant pipe. I mean, I guess either way. I just never really like blunt weapons. I don't know, just whack. I'd rather just freaking slice, whoosh, 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 rather than bonk. I think it's a little bit more appealing, a little bit more slashy and sharp, edgy, literally. But that's probably just because I'm used to like swords and Japanese shit, katanas, and I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, the game was easy to navigate through. You never really got lost or you couldn't figure out what to do. Another hard thing. So basically, combined with the whole wrench deal or pipe, it's a pipe. I get them confused. They're both big metal dumb objects. You have to climb walls, and it's kind of awkward to do because you gotta do it in this very specific way. It's kind of like in games where they have ice picking. Like, I think I did an ice picking section in like a Call of Duty, and it was actually very similar. It's the exact same thing. It's just kind of funny to see very similar mechanics cross over in other games. It's very typical, but it's just interesting to see, or like if these certain type of games didn't really have much in common and to begin with, it's like, oh, this is a very much in common thing to have with each other, and that can be kind of cool. Yeah, this Wolfenstein games also had to do a lot with red. They really like their red, which I get it. Red, white looks good, looks great. Maybe some black. They went really hard with the red here. I mean, with New Colossus and New Order, it's like, oh, cool, I get it. I don't really get the Colossus thing. New Order, you know, we've all heard that before. But the old blood, red. The only other game they've done with the word blood in it was Youngblood, which is probably the opposite game of this, hands down. As far as the technology they used in the game, the time they came out, the style, everything. So basically, if you're anti-Youngblood for some reason, which it's still a good game, but yeah, this is definitely the one to go for because you know, you got Youngblood on this kind of weird side of the spectrum, you got Old Blood here, then obviously you got New Colossus and Order in the middle. So it's pretty fun to like jump from. I think it'd be cool to play like Youngblood, maybe get that out of the way or save it for last if you prefer doing things that way, but and then the Old Blood. I think they're very like not comparable, but like in a very just very opposite. You look at those two games specifically within the Wolfenstein series in a very different way. Because that's the thing, if you're gonna skip Youngblood, you may as well play this, New Colossus, and New Order. It just makes sense. I mean, 3 out of 4, that's not too bad. But to only play the Order and Colossus and not this and not Youngblood, that'd be kind of weird. I don't know. I guess anyone could play these games in a very specific way if they really wanted to. Maybe they just wanted to dip their toes in. Oh, I've only played Youngblood. I've only played Old Blood. Whatever. It's a nice little collection. You just got it, and there's enough of them to where it's not just, oh, there's one game and then another, a sequel. Cool. You got a few different ones here to pick from. And it's just more time you get to spend with this character that you've grown accustomed to, that you like and want to spend more time with, get to know better, more of. You know, what all has he really gone through? I think this is the best emphasis on, like, dude, this is BJ in his prime, dude. This is definitely not like a normal, typical situation he would have been in otherwise. This is very much his, like, big hoorah, like, if he was known for anything, I would say this would be it. Which is tough to follow up what he's done with the other games, because he's done so much. He's taken down so many Nazis, he's destroyed so many machines, used so many guns, fired so many bullets, died so many times, used so many grenades, whatever, got hurt so much, traveled so many places, and this was definitely his kind of road to victory, and I think this is the game that really established who he is and what he's here for and what to do and how he does things, and I'd say this is the best one to start with. It really is. Like, you have the choice at the end of the day to kind of pick and choose, but yeah. Because you never know, everyone's got a different situation. They might have gotten into Wolfenstein too late, you know, on time. You never really know. It's always going to be different for everyone. They've all got their own story and timeline with game franchises and series, and because everyone's also a different age and older, younger. So you never really know. It could be what kind of consoles you can get your hands on, what could be, you know, what are you looking at for a budget? Yeah, I'd definitely recommend this first. I'd recommend it the most. I'd recommend it to anyone and everyone, all over the place. It's very good quality, nice little good time. That's pretty cool. But yes. Wolfenstein, the Old Blood.